Happy Friday, everyone, and it is a happy Friday. It looks like we're getting a good day to end the week. Basically, the rest of this week has been pretty bad, and this has been a theme we've been noticing. A bad beginning of the week, and then a strong end, a good Friday. While the trend continues this week, and we're looking at a pretty good Friday. Basically, all of the Bitcoin miners are up. Bitcoin is up. We just received some economic data. I'll talk about that. And we do have an analyst saying that Bitcoin is bucking its trend, its typical halving trend. So we're going to talk about that and why they're wrong, or why the article, in my opinion, is not very good. Now, PPI just released. It was forecast to be a 1.6% year over year. We got a 1.8. The positive is it is still under its low twos that it was getting for most of this year. Economists were expecting a monthly gain of 0.1%. However, it remained flat, which is a positive. PPI rose 0.2%, which met expectations. And we do have a final inflation piece of data before the Fed meeting on November 7. This is going to be PCE, and this is releasing on October 31. What we've been seeing is it has been coming down consistently. We are now getting into the low twos. The closer these inflation reads get to 2%, the more likelihood of sustained rate cuts. I believe the Fed is also very closely watching jobs. And looking at the Fed Watch tool, you'll see that the 25 basis point cut is more expected now than it was yesterday. A 50 basis point cut is completely off the table for now. Perhaps there's a possibility that changes with PCE if it comes in dramatically low. But for now, the market is expecting another rate cut, this time a 25 basis point rather than a 50. And there is still a small probability of getting no cut. And the chances of that rises if inflation ticks up, if the labor market gets stronger, not weaker. Now, I do want to talk about Bitcoin. In this article, in my opinion, says some things a bit wrong. Bitcoin has been stuck trading sideways after the halving. What's different this time? Some components of the cycle, such as altcoin seasons or bull runs, might have different timelines than we're used to seeing. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but retail sentiment is terrible. Go to any YouTuber, any large YouTuber, and look at the comments regarding Bitcoin. And it seems like people are actually very bearish on Bitcoin. People don't get Bitcoin. People shouldn't be holding Bitcoin because they're not really bullish on it. They just want to make some money and get out. They don't understand Bitcoin. The good thing I've noticed about this channel is most of you seem to understand Bitcoin. Seem to actually understand how amazing it is. Seem to understand the potential. Compared to other channels, I'd say by far many of you are extremely smart viewers. You're not new to crypto, you've been here for a while. Of course, some of you are new, but just judging by the type of comments I get from you guys, seems like a lot more level-headed people, way less emotional type of traders, and I gotta say, I love that about you guys. But anyways, the founder and CEO of CryptoQuant, Ki Young-ju, has warned that if no Bitcoin bull market emerges within the next 2 weeks, this year will mark the longest sideways movement in a halving year in Bitcoin's history. And he shares a chart illustrating Bitcoin's historically consistent bull runs. Here's a few things he misses out of it. And I have this chart. I've showed you guys this many times. You'll see that 2012 and 2016 are crossed out. I'll zoom this in so it won't look very good for you guys. But I have the picture of this with 2012 and 2016. And it shows, you know, if you look at the dark purple, it looks like things are deviating. We're starting to drop. Whereas in 2020, we started to run. Right in the middle of October was when we went parabolic. Middle of October is basically right there. Bam. Well, I have the chart with 2016 and 2012. Typically, halving years are associated with significant price surges as supply decreases, but 2024 has bucked this trend, leaving market participants in anticipation. Really, it's almost like they act like Bitcoin hasn't 5x'd from its bottom. I understand that Bitcoin has pulled back, but if you follow the trend, Bitcoin will overall rise. In my opinion, we will see a 10x out of Bitcoin by the end of this cycle, which means going from 15,000 to about 150,000. That is my expectation. I think that is somewhat reasonable of an expectation. That does not mean we will or we won't get it. That is just what I am personally expecting. All right, now here is Bitcoin on a halving year, how it has performed. And I added in 2016 and 2012. You'll see we are basically right in line with 2016. Now, this purple line, I'll show you guys just so you kind of have a good idea. We were basically right here, right? You see this move up while this moves down, the dark purple. Here's basically where we'd be at. Right in line with the 2016 halving. To me, nothing is off here. Nothing is going wrong. We just have bearish people that don't realize Bitcoin has these downwards periods. Bitcoin has these cool-off periods. It is not going to be just straight up and to the right. It is not that easy. If you thought you were going to get into this bull cycle at the lows of 15,000 and ride it all the way to the tippy top without any potential shakeouts, without any fear, without any worry, without any doubt in your mind, I'm sorry, but that's not how the cycles work. There will be fear, there will be doubt, there will be mass panic, there will be retail being the bearish they've ever been, and I think we're kind of at that point right now. In a lot of ways, being at 60,000 right here, which in the last cycle was near the top, being at 60,000 at this time in this cycle, we have people as bearish as we were back in the $20,000 days, back in the 15K days. In my opinion, maybe even more bearish than then, because people expect Bitcoin to be higher right now, and it's just not happening for them. So many people are ready to exit and give up at the worst time. Bitcoin has these downwards, sideways consolidation phases that get people to give up, that get people to lose sight of the cycle, lose sight of the 4-year cycle that has always played out. Maybe things are different this time. I personally don't expect it, but maybe things don't play out as we expect. Does that mean Bitcoin is done forever? Does that mean Bitcoin is going to be a horrible investment over the next 5 years? Of course not. Bitcoin is now in. Bitcoin is a piece of Wall Street now. The discussions we have this cycle versus last cycle are extremely different. It's insane. Last cycle, there's more worry about being hacked. There's more worry about government overreach, about banning. This cycle, we're talking about nations. We're talking about states, nation states, buying Bitcoin, adopting a strategy to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, to add Bitcoin to their treasuries, companies adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet, companies like MicroStrategy seeing this cheat code basically where they can take out debt, acquire a bunch of Bitcoin, and by the time that loan is over, they will have made way more money than the amount of that loan, way more money than the amount of the interest for taking out that loan. We are still in the early years of seeing these companies get massive to hundreds of billions of dollars in valuation, even trillions, dare I say, one day. Companies like CleanSpark, MicroStrategy, Marathon, these will be the big names in Bitcoin. And it is insane. It is crazy to think of where these valuations will be in a few decades from now. In my opinion, these are the type of investments that will allow us to retire early. But there is volatility, there is risk, there is fear, and it is not going to be easy. There are going to be pullbacks, just like the last cycle where we see lower highs, lower lows. People start thinking, oh no, is it over? Is Bitcoin done? Is Bitcoin not going to have that end of year rally, that Q4 rally, and the rally that comes in the year after the halving? Imagine the people that got shaken out here under $10,000, under a $10,000 Bitcoin. Do you guys remember when Bitcoin was under $10,000? Imagine missing that run. Imagine missing that roughly 6x or more. How long will it take to get a 6x in the S&P 500? Let me pull up the 2016 halving cycle for you guys. We saw a huge rally. And then what happened? We saw a long period of consolidation. We went from being a $778 Bitcoin back in 2016 by September. Basically by September, by October, we lost almost 30%. Went down to $500. Look at this period of consolidation, pulling back, lower highs. And then we reached the middle of October. We went on to rally. We broke that previous high and we're gone. We are gone. Look at that. Whoa, whoa. That's what happens when you zoom in an old halving cycle. We were just looking at this right here. This basically doesn't even look like anything. It just looks like a little bit of It looks like a little move up. But in reality, this is what it was. This is the move. I mean, when you zoom it out, it doesn't look like it's as amazing as it is. In the end, you need to develop your own convictions for Bitcoin, for the Bitcoin miners you hold. No one is going to hold your hand. No one is going to force you to hold. No one is going to force you to buy, force you to sell. That is all up to you in the end. In my opinion, it's as simple as following the halving cycle. It's as simple as understanding that Bitcoin is limited in supply. Bitcoin every 4 years is going to cut its incoming supply, and price will rise to accommodate that. It is as simple as supply and demand. But let me know how you guys are feeling today after this rough week. Now we're at least getting a decent day. How are you guys feeling about inflation data? I do think we're looking at another 25 basis point cut and maybe one more after that to end of the year. This should be good for risk on assets like Bitcoin, for small caps, and we just need to keep an eye on inflation, make sure it doesn't tick up. Keep an eye on unemployment. But let me know what you guys have been doing lately. In my opinion, these are basically the last chances to buy. I'm not going to be preaching about buying anymore. Once we start running, it is, in my opinion, the time to start trimming, the time to start building up that cash. There will be bad days, there will also be good days. And we need to remember to trim a little bit off the top on those good days. And in my opinion, those good days are approaching. But thanks as always for watching, guys. Hopefully you have a good weekend, and I'll see you next time.